Once in a small town called Willow Creek, there lived a curious boy named Tommy. He was 12 years old, full of energy, and always looking for a reason to explore. The town was quiet, with only a few shops and a lovely park. However, nearby, in the old, abandoned part of town, stood a place that fascinated Tommy and his friends, an ancient museum filled with strange artifacts and odd treasures. One sunny Saturday, Tommy convinced his two best friends, Lily and Ben, to visit the old museum. Lily was smart and always carried a book, while Ben was funny and loved to make jokes. As they entered the museum, they were greeted by the smell of dusty relics and old wood. The room was dimly lit, with shadows dancing along the walls. "Look at that!" Lily exclaimed, pointing to an odd-looking statue in the corner. It was made of a shiny green stone and stood taller than Tommy. Its shape was peculiar, a mix of a human and a creature from outer space. Its big eyes stared blankly ahead, and it had strange patterns carved all over its body. Tommy approached the statue, intrigued. "What do you think it is?" he asked. "I think it's an alien," Ben joked, chuckling. "Maybe it can talk. What if it comes to life?" Tommy, always up for a laugh, said, "I'll prove it. I'm going to kiss it." Before his friends could react, he stepped closer to the statue. "Tommy, wait!" Lily warned, but it was too late. Tommy leaned in and kissed the cold stone on the cheek. Just then, something unbelievable happened. The eyes of the statue suddenly blinked open, glowing a bright blue. Tommy stumbled back in shock, while Lily and Ben gasped. The statue's mouth slowly opened, and a deep voice echoed in the room. "You doomed your species." "What?" Tommy stammered, his heart racing. "Are you real?" "Yes," said the statue, its voice smooth but heavy. "I am a guardian of ancient knowledge. By kissing me, you have awakened a power beyond your understanding." Lily grabbed Tommy's arm, looking frightened. "What does it mean we're doomed?" "For millennia, I have waited for one who would bring ignorance and recklessness to their world," the statue explained. "You, young one, have awakened me at a time when your species is on the brink of destruction. I can give you the knowledge to change this, but it requires bravery." Tommy felt a mix of fear and excitement. He loved adventures, but this was more than he had bargained for. "What kind of knowledge?" he asked. The statue regarded him with its glowing eyes. "Knowledge of harmony with nature, understanding of technology, and the wisdom to learn from your mistakes. You must gather your friends and make a choice, to accept this challenge and save your kind or to turn away." Ben, always the jokester, was now serious. "What do we need to do?" "Bring together a group of individuals with strong hearts and open minds," said the statue. "You will need to solve 3 trials that will test your courage, intelligence, and compassion." "What kind of trials?" Lily asked, her curiosity piqued despite her fear. "The first trial will take place in the Forest of Echoes. You must find the lost whisper, a sound that holds the spirits of the forest. The second trial will lead you to the River of Reflection, where you must face your true selves. The final trial is in the Mountain of Unity, where your bond will be tested. Only then can you unlock the secrets necessary to save your world." Tommy looked at his friends. He had never expected an adventure quite like this. "Are we going to do it?" Lily, always the thinker, nodded. "We have to try. It's our chance to help everyone." Ben shrugged. "I guess it's better than sitting at home playing video games." With a newfound determination, the 3 friends agreed to embark on this incredible journey. The statue's eyes sparkled as if pleased. "You must start at dawn. Time is of the essence." That night, Tommy couldn't sleep. His mind was filled with images of what awaited them. Early the next morning, they gathered supplies, snacks, and a map before setting off to the Forest of Echoes. The forest was alive with sounds, the rustling of leaves, chirping birds, and distant animal calls. However, the air was thick with mystery. Soon they reached a clearing where the trees seemed to whisper to each other. "Listen," Tommy said, and they focused on the sounds around them. They wandered deeper into the forest, trying to catch the lost whisper. Hours passed, and just when they felt like giving up, they heard a soft, melodious sound. It was a gentle hum drawing them forward. "There it is!" Lily shouted, and they chased after the sound. They found a sparkling flower that glowed softly in the sunlight, surrounded by a mist of shimmering light. As they approached, The voice of the forest echoed through the air. "You have found me. Share your heart's truest desires, and I will reveal the way." Each friend spoke of their hopes for a better world and harmony among people. The flower shimmered brighter and released a soft breeze filled with whispers of truth. "Now you have passed the first trial. Move to the river of reflection," the forest said, and the flower faded, leaving a path to follow. Days passed as they traveled to the river. Once there, the surface sparkled like glass. "Time to face ourselves," Ben said weakly. They took turns looking into the water. Each saw their fears, their dreams, and their doubts. It was difficult, but together they encouraged one another to accept what they saw. With renewed strength, they traveled to the mountain of unity. There they faced challenges, each testing their friendship. They climbed steep paths and helped each other when they fell. Finally, on the mountain's peak, a powerful force surrounded them. The air vibrated with energy. "You have shown courage, intelligence, and compassion. Speak your wish for your people," echoed a voice from above. Lily took a deep breath. "We wish for everyone to learn from the earth, to respect it, and to live in harmony." The mountain trembled, and a brilliant light enveloped them. The next moment, they were back in the museum, standing before the ancient statue. "Your hearts are pure, and your bond is strong. By completing the trials, you have unlocked the knowledge to guide your species," the statue said, smiling faintly. Tommy and his friends felt a surge of hope and determination. They left the museum with a mission, ready to share their newfound wisdom with the world. As they stepped out into the sun, they knew their adventure had just begun. They had faced their doubts, grown stronger together, and most importantly, learned that change starts with a single act of courage, even a kiss on a strange statue. Dr. Eris Thorne, a quirky and adventurous archaeologist. Jax, Eris's cautious and skeptical colleague. Commander Zara, the pragmatic leader of the research outpost. Dr. Eris Thorne was not known for his restraint. Curiosity, often bordering on recklessness, was the engine that drove him. This, combined with a penchant for inappropriate jokes, often landed him in hot water. And on the desolate crimson plains of Xylos, a planet light years away from Earth, that water was about to boil over. "I'm telling you, Eris, don't even think about it," warned Jax, his voice echoing through the massive chamber. Jax, a xenolinguist by trade, was Eris's long-suffering colleague and the antithesis of everything Eris stood for: cautious, methodical, and utterly devoid of humor. Before them stood the statue. Towering at nearly 20 feet, it was carved from an obsidian-like material, radiating an aura of ancient power. Its humanoid form was vaguely familiar, yet undeniably alien, with elongated limbs and a serene, almost melancholic expression etched onto its face. The statue had been unearthed just days ago, buried beneath layers of Xylosian dust, and it had become the centerpiece of their research outpost. "Come on, Jax. Where's your sense of adventure?" Eris grinned, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "It's just a statue. A really, really old statue. Probably older than sliced bread, maybe even older than bread itself. That statue, as you so flippantly call it, is radiating an energy signature we've never encountered before," Jax countered, adjusting his glasses. "Commander Zara has explicitly forbidden anyone from touching it. And for good reason, I might add." Commander Zara, a stern woman with a no-nonsense attitude, had indeed laid down the law regarding the statue. But Eris had a habit of selectively hearing orders, especially when they conflicted with his own insatiable curiosity. "Energy signature. Shmemory signature," Eris scoffed, waving his hand dismissively. "It's probably just space dust or something. Besides," he lowered his voice to a conspiratorial whisper, "rumor has it that kissing statues brings good luck. Maybe this will finally get us that breakthrough we've been searching for." Jax threw his hands up in exasperation. "You're incorrigible. This isn't some Earthside fountain, Eris. This is an alien artifact of unknown origin. You can't just go around kissing it." But Eris was already moving. He approached the statue with a theatrical flourish, his grin widening with each step. He paused before it, tilting his head as if admiring its craftsmanship. Then, with a wink towards Jax, he leaned forward and planted a kiss on the statue's smooth obsidian lips. The chamber fell silent. Jax held his breath, bracing for, well, he didn't know what, but he knew it wouldn't be good. For a moment, nothing happened. Eris stepped back, wiping his lips with the back of his hand. See? Nothing. Just a cold, lonely statue looking for a little love. He turned to Jax, ready to deliver a triumphant, "I told you so," but the words died in his throat. The statue's eyes were open. They weren't the lifeless, carved eyes they had been just moments before. Now they glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light, a vibrant, pulsating blue that seemed to pierce the very soul. The statue's face, previously serene, now held an expression of profound sorrow, a weariness that spoke of millennia spent in silent slumber. And then it spoke. The voice was deep and resonant, echoing through the chamber, seemingly originating, not from the statue's mouth, but from the very air itself. You have awakened me," the statue said, its voice laced with an ancient sorrow. "Foolish mortal, you have doomed your species." Eris stumbled backward, his face pale with shock. Jack stood frozen, his mouth agape. What do you mean?" Eris stammered, his bravado completely evaporated. The statue's eyes burned brighter. "The seal. You have broken the seal, the slumbering ones. They will awaken." Slumbering ones. Jax managed to croak out, his voice barely a whisper. "The Xylar," the statue replied, its voice gaining strength. "They were banished here millennia ago, imprisoned beneath the surface of this world. Their hunger is endless, their cruelty unmatched. They will consume all that you hold dear." A tremor ran through the chamber, shaking the very foundations of the outpost. Alarms blared, bathing the room in a harsh red light. "Commander Zara!" Jax shouted, finally snapping out of his stupor. "We need Commander Zara!" But it was too late. The ground beneath their feet began to crack and heave. From the depths of the planet, a low, guttural growl echoed, growing louder with each passing second. The statue turned its gaze upon Eris, its blue eyes filled with an almost pitying sadness. "You sought adventure, little mortal. You found oblivion." The ground gave way, and from the chasm that opened before them, creatures began to emerge. Grotesque beings of shadow and bone, their eyes burning with malevolent hunger. The Xylar had awakened. Commander Zara arrived, her face grim, a weapon drawn in her hand. "What in God's name have you done, Thorn?" she yelled over the din. Eris could only stare in horror as the Xylar swarmed the chamber, their razor-sharp claws tearing through metal and flesh. He had unleashed a nightmare upon his species, all because of a foolish joke. As the outpost crumbled around them, Eris knew that the statue's words were not mere hyperbole. He had doomed them all. The Xylar were unstoppable, their hunger insatiable. Earth and all of humanity would soon face a reckoning unlike anything they had ever imagined. In his final moments, as the Xylar closed in, Eris saw Jax fighting bravely, Zara leading the charge with unwavering determination. He realized the gravity of his actions and the devastating consequences it had brought upon everyone. He had sought adventure, a moment of fleeting amusement. Instead, he had unleashed a terror that would consume worlds. And as the darkness closed in, he could only hear the echoing words of the statue. "You have doomed your species." The weight of that pronouncement crushed him, a final, agonizing blow as the Xylar descended. In a small town named Maplewood, there lived a curious teenager named Jake. He was known for his wild ideas and adventurous spirit. One sunny Saturday, Jake decided to explore the famous old museum at the edge of town with his friends, Sam and Lily. They heard rumors about a mysterious alien statue hidden in the basement, and their imaginations ran wild with the possibilities. As they entered the museum, the dusty smell of old books and artifacts greeted them. The old curator, Mr. Thompson, was busy preparing for an exhibition. He raised his eyebrow when he saw the three friends. "You kids shouldn't be down in the basement without supervision," he warned, but they were already too excited. "Please, Mr. Thompson." "Just for a few minutes," Jake pleaded, bouncing on his toes. With a sigh, Mr. Thompson nodded but reminded them, "Just be careful. That statue has a history you don't want to mess with." The friends descended the creaky stairs into the dimly lit basement filled with boxes and old crates. In the farthest corner, shrouded in a cloth, stood the legendary alien statue. It was said to be 1,000 years old, discovered in a cave deep in the mountains. As they approached it, the statue's features became clearer. It was tall and had shining green skin, big eyes, and intricate symbols carved into its body. "Wow, it looks so real," Sam whispered, staring in awe. "Let's take a selfie with it," Lily said, pulling out her phone. They posed in front of the alien statue, but Jake had a different idea. Feeling playful, he stepped forward and playfully kissed the statue on the cheek. "Just a joke!" He laughed, expecting nothing to happen. But to his shock, the statue began to glow. Its eyes suddenly opened wide, revealing swirling galaxies within them. The friends jumped back, startled. "What did you do?" Sam gasped. The alien statue's voice echoed through the basement, deep and ancient. "You doomed your species." The air seemed to thicken with tension as the friends exchanged terrified glances. "What does that mean?" Jake stammered, feeling a chill crawl up his spine. "You awakened me," the statue continued, its voice both mesmerizing and frightening. "For 1,000 years I have waited. You have broken my slumber. Your actions will trigger events beyond your comprehension." Lily took a step forward, her curiosity fighting the fear. "What events?" "What do you mean?" The statue's gaze shifted to her, its ancient wisdom shining through its eyes. "Long ago, your ancestors sealed a great force within me, a force that can bring both destruction and salvation. Now your foolishness has set it free." Jake felt a weight settle on his shoulders. "How can we fix this?" he asked, his bravado fading. "You must listen." "You have a choice," the statue said, causing the room to vibrate with its words. "Seek the 3 crystals hidden around this town, each holding a piece of the power that was once sealed away. Only when they are united can balance return." 3 crystals? Where do we even start looking?" Sam questioned nervously. "The first crystal lies beneath the ancient oak by the river," the statue replied. "The second is on the mountain's peak, and the third rests in the heart of the forest. You must hurry, for time is not on your side." With that, the statue's eyes closed, and the basement returned to its former stillness. The 3 friends stood frozen, processing what had just happened. "Okay, we have to find these crystals," Jake said, breaking the silence, determination replacing his earlier fear. "When?" The trio made their way back to the surface, their hearts racing with excitement and anxiety. They grabbed their bikes and rode to the ancient oak by the river, its massive branches swaying gently in the wind. "Look," Lily pointed to a small glowing spot near the tree's roots. They dug through the leaves and dirt until they uncovered a small, shimmering crystal. With 1 crystal in hand, they raced back to their bikes, feeling a surge of hope. "1 down, 2 to go," Jake cheered. Their next stop was the rocky mountain peak, which loomed large against the sky. They hiked the challenging path, the wind whipping around them. After what felt like hours, they reached the top. Breathless but determined, they searched for the second crystal. It wasn't long before they noticed a hidden crevice in the rocks. Inside, they found another crystal gleaming in the sunlight. "Yes! We did it!" Sam yelled, pumping his fist in the air. With 2 crystals safely in their possession, the group made their way to the heart of the forest. The sun sank low, casting shadows among the trees. They followed a narrow path filled with thick underbrush and mysterious sounds. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a clearing where a giant stone altar stood. Atop the altar was the 3rd and final crystal, glowing brilliantly. As they approached, the ground rumbled and the air crackled with energy. "This is it! We need to hurry!" Jake shouted, reaching for the crystal. Before he could grab it, the ground shook violently. A dark figure emerged from the shadows, twisted and threatening. It reached for the crystals. "You cannot claim the power!" The friends looked at one another in panic. "What do we do?" Lily cried. "Protect the crystals!" Jake yelled. They huddled around the altar, determined to defend their prize. In their hearts, they remembered the aliens' words. They had to unite the crystals. With all their energy, they held hands and focused on the glowing crystals, channeling their will together. A blinding light erupted from the stones, pushing back the dark figure. The energy swirled around them, binding the crystals into a single beam of light shooting skyward. The dark figure shrieked and faded away, leaving the clearing in peace. The friends fell to the ground, exhausted but relieved. As they caught their breath, the light began to shrink, and in its place appeared the alien statue once more. "You have done well," it said softly. "Balance has returned to your world? Your species is saved!" The friends exchanged astonished looks, their laughter ringing out as they understood the gravity of their adventure. They had awakened a 1,000-year-old secret, saved their town, and forged a bond that would last a lifetime. And from that day on, the town of Maplewood remembered not only the legend of the alien statue, but also the bravery of 3 friends who dared to take a chance, even in the face of the unknown. John, a space tourist Zorp, an alien statue John, a space tourist with an insatiable appetite for adventure and a healthy dose of irreverence, found himself on the distant planet of Xylos. Xylos was famous for its ancient ruins and enigmatic alien artifacts. It was a popular destination for thrill-seekers and history buffs alike. John, however, was mostly interested in the thrill part. He'd signed up for the Xylosian expedition tour, promising close encounters with the planet's mysterious past. So far, it had been mostly dusty landscapes and confusing alien glyphs. John was starting to get bored. The tour group, led by a stern-faced Xylosian guide named Xylar, arrived at the grand finale, the Temple of the Silent Gods. It was an imposing structure even in its ruined state, with towering columns carved with strange, otherworldly beings. In the center of the temple stood a colossal statue, easily 100 feet tall. It depicted a regal, humanoid figure with elongated features and piercing eyes, carved from a dark, obsidian-like stone. This was Zorp, the most revered of Xylos's ancient deities. Xylar, with a voice filled with reverence, explained the legend of Zorp. Millennia ago, Zorp was a powerful being who protected Xylos from cosmic threats. He possessed unimaginable power and wisdom, and his gaze could decide the fate of worlds. The guide paused dramatically, but Zorp vanished, leaving behind this statue as a vessel for his essence. It is said that one day, he will return. John, suppressing a yawn, leaned over to his fellow tourist, a timid woman named Emily, and whispered, "Bet you 10 credits he's just taking a really long nap." Emily gasped, "You shouldn't joke about such things." "It's disrespectful." John just grinned. As Xylar continued with his lecture, John's mind began to race. He was bored, restless, and a mischievous idea was forming in his mind. He waited for the perfect opportunity, a moment when Xylar was distracted by a question from another tourist. With a sly look, John slipped away from the group and approached the statue. The obsidian surface was cold and smooth beneath his fingertips. He glanced around, making sure no one was watching. Xylar was busy explaining something about planetary alignment, his back turned. This is my chance, John thought, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and trepidation. He knew it was a stupid idea, possibly even sacrilegious, but he couldn't resist the urge to do something outrageous. He took a deep breath, climbed onto a nearby pile of rubble, and reached up to the statue's face. It was taller than he'd thought, and he had to stretch to his limit. With a final surge of adrenaline, he leaned in and planted a quick kiss on Zorp's cold stone lips. The temple fell silent. The air crackled with an unseen energy. John froze, his eyes wide with disbelief. He had expected nothing to happen, maybe a few gasps from the other tourists. But this was different. A low rumble echoed through the temple, growing louder and louder until it vibrated through the very ground beneath their feet. Cracks appeared in the ancient stones, dust rained down from the ceiling, and the air grew thick with an acrid smell. Then, the impossible happened. The statue's eyes, which had been lifeless carvings for millennia, flickered open. They glowed with an intense, otherworldly light burning into John's soul. A deep, resonant voice, filled with ancient power and infinite weariness, echoed through the temple. You have awakened me, the statue said, the words rumbling like thunder. After all this time, you have broken the seal. John stumbled backward, his bravado evaporating like mist in the morning sun. He had expected a laugh, maybe a scolding. He hadn't expected the end of the world. Xylar and the other tourists turned, their faces a mixture of shock and terror. Emily screamed, "What have you done?" Xylar cried, his voice trembling with fear. The statue, Zorp, turned its gaze upon John, its eyes burning with an intensity that made him want to disappear. "You, insignificant mortal, have acted without knowledge, without understanding. You have doomed your species." "What? What are you talking about?" John stammered, his voice barely a whisper. "Two." Zorp's voice boomed through the temple, shaking the very foundations of the ancient structure. "The seal that bound me was not just to keep me dormant. It was to protect your world from what lies beyond. I was the guardian, the barrier between your reality and the infinite horrors that lurk in the void." He paused, and a note of profound sorrow entered his voice. "But now the gate is open. They will come. They will consume. And there is nothing I can do to stop them." Panic erupted among the tourists. They screamed and ran, desperate to escape the crumbling temple. Xylar, however, stood his ground, his face etched with despair. "Is there nothing we can do?" he pleaded with Zorp. "Is there no hope?" Zorp remained silent for a moment, his glowing eyes fixed on the chaotic scene before him. Finally he spoke, his voice heavy with resignation. "There may be a way, a slim chance, but it will require a sacrifice of the one who broke the seal." All eyes turned to John. He felt a chill run down his spine, colder than the obsidian statue he had so foolishly kissed. He had started this as a joke, a moment of rebellious fun. Now he was facing the potential extinction of his entire species. What kind of sacrifice?" John asked, his voice trembling. Zorp's gaze intensified. "You must travel to the heart of the Nexus, the place where realities converge. There you must find the Orb of Oblivion and use it to reseal the gate. But be warned, the Nexus is a dangerous place, filled with creatures beyond your comprehension. And the orb will test your very soul." John swallowed hard. He was just a tourist, a guy looking for a thrill. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a savior, but he was the one who had opened the gate, and he was the only one who could close it. He looked at the terrified faces of the other tourists, at the despair in Xylar's eyes. He knew what he had to do. "I'll do it," John said, his voice gaining strength. "I'll go to the Nexus and find the orb. I'll fix this." Zorp nodded, a flicker of something that might have been hope in his ancient eyes. "Then go, mortal, and may whatever gods you believe in have mercy on your soul, for you are about to face a darkness unlike any you have ever known." With that, Zorp closed his eyes, the light fading from his face. The rumbling subsided, and the temple fell silent once more. But the silence was different this time, heavy with dread, and the knowledge that the fate of humanity rested on the shoulders of a foolish tourist who had kissed the wrong star.